Today we're going to watch a video produced by the Jehovah's Witnesses. What Your Peers Say, The Best Life Ever. This video is a profile of a young Jehovah's Witness named Cameron who decides she wants to be a missionary in a foreign country. She's supposed to be a positive example for other young Jehovah's Witnesses, but what does her journey actually reveal? Let's get started.
When we're growing up, we all have to make decisions. We all have to choose which path we will take. My parents raised me as one of Jehovah's Witnesses. Our ministry, teaching others about the Bible, has always been an important part of my life. When I was a teenager, I wanted to expand my ministry, to take it to the next level. There were friends in my local congregation who had gone to foreign countries and helped teach people the Bible. Reading experiences from the yearbook motivated me that was a goal that I wanted to set for myself. After a few years of careful planning and saving, I was finally able to travel to Malawi.
Okay. Again, we're presented with this young sister who says she was raised as one of Jehovah's Witnesses, her parents are devout Jehovah's Witnesses, and the public ministry or preaching work is very important to her. So much so that she wants to become a missionary. So she ends up saving enough money and maneuvering her life around so she can move to Malawi. But I want to go back to the very first thing that she says. When we're growing up, we all have to make decisions. We all have to choose which path we will take. My parents raised me as one of Jehovah's Witnesses. This is an incredibly loaded and comical statement right out the gate because it presents the illusion of someone like her, in her circumstances, having free will. She was raised in a devout Jehovah's Witness household. This means she has not been exposed to other religions, other places of worship. She's been going to the Kingdom Hall, going to meetings, through all her formative years, well into adulthood. So can this sister really say that she has free will to choose which path she will take? She poses a really interesting existential scenario for any born-in Jehovah's Witness. Let's see what happens next.
The people there had such a high respect for the Bible. You could talk to someone walking down the street, or living in a small house, or even a mansion, and all were interested in what the Bible had to say. This one time in Malawi, one of the workers invited us in. Then the head of the house invited all the workers, family members, came into the living room, sat down, and he said, "Okay, what would you like to tell us from the Bible?" And I'm just sitting there like, wow, this is incredible.
I will say this, I have never been in this sister's shoes. I was never a missionary. I would be curious to hear from you guys if you ever did anything like this, if you were ever a missionary, whether you were a Jehovah's Witness or not. What is obvious is a lot of these communities are impoverished and the Watchtower organization is filthy rich. So, while they have the means to bring in a production team to film this nice white lady ushering in Watchtower propaganda, I'd be interested to know if they provided any, practical assistance, food, clean drinking water, or contributed in any way to the infrastructure of these communities. But what I find even more distasteful is that they're featuring Malawi at all after the horrific persecution of Jehovah's Witnesses in Malawi that happened as a direct result of the organization's actions. From 1964 to 1994, Jehovah's Witnesses in Malawi were not allowed to possess a Malawi Congress card that would show support for the Malawi president and protect them from unnecessary blowback. Meanwhile, the organization issued an entirely different directive to the brothers in Mexico, giving them a free pass to bribe government officials for a political party card that would exempt them from military service. This double standard led to the imprisonment, torture, and murder of thousands of innocent Jehovah's Witnesses in Malawi for over 30 years. A blip on their corporate timeline that the organization will never acknowledge or apologize for. Though I have no doubt this sister has good intentions, I guarantee you she has no clue how much blood is on the organization's hands. Because, being the faithful Jehovah's Witness that she is, she's not doing any digging into the organization's corrupt history. All right, let's keep going.
It was so encouraging to be able to share Bible truths. Some days you'd be out for 12 hours riding home on the bus, dust coming in the windows, sharing a seat with 4 people. Even sometimes a chicken would be on your lap. You'd get off the bus and you'd have to walk 2 miles home and you're just exhausted, but you couldn't help but have a grin on your face because you felt like you accomplished something that day and that you were doing the best work you could possibly do.
That's the Watchtower organization for you. They are so damn arrogant that they believe the best thing you can do for one of the most impoverished nations in the world is to dump your religious ideology, exploit the locals, and run. And what I find interesting is even the sister is like, I'm exhausted. I just preached all day, for 12 hours straight. And yeah, there's 2 sides to this coin. I mean, after all, it was her idea. She expressed that she wanted to be a missionary, move to a foreign country. This was her goal. And again, I have no doubt that she's very sincere in her efforts and feels like she's doing really rewarding work. But also, by staying that busy, that entrenched, is typical of cults like the Jehovah's Witnesses. This sister is so entrenched in busy work, preaching all day, probably, washing her clothes, acquiring and preparing food. It's not like she has DoorDash or Grubhub, or any other modern conveniences of a highly developed, industrialized country. She said herself she's exhausted from commuting all day. So what time does she have to herself to recover and really engage in any honest self-reflection of what she's doing, of who she's working for? As a Jehovah's Witness, she's not allowed to entertain outside influences. Her missionary work is just another way for the organization to maintain its firm grip on her life by keeping her so busy. All right, let's see how it ends.
So many good things yet to be done.
It wasn't easy leaving home, learning a new language, or even a new culture. But because of those experiences, it taught me to rely more on Jehovah.
And I will help you climb.
Sometimes when we're younger, we kind of get really involved in whatever environment we're in.
The ground. Look what I found.
When you step outside of that box and you experience something that you've never handled before, it helps you to grow as a person and serve Jehovah in ways you never thought were possible.
This will last forever. Come with me, you'll see this is the best life ever.
My name is Cameron. I'm one of Jehovah's Witnesses, and I have the best life ever.
This is the best life ever.
Okay, these closing remarks are really rich. First of all, I want to commend this sister, Cameron, truly, for wanting to see the world, expand her horizons, learn how other cultures live, and doing something that she feels, gives her a greater purpose in life. She feels like she's serving a higher power. Fair enough. However, a few of her statements reveal some fundamentally flawed logic. First, she says, sometimes when we're younger, we kind of get really involved in whatever environment we're in. When you step outside of that box and you experience something you've never handled before, it helps you to grow as a person. The scream I scrumped. The irony of her words is mind-blowing, coming from someone who was raised in a cult. This is a young woman who has performed zero critical analysis of her beliefs. As one of Jehovah's Witnesses, she is forbidden from visiting other churches, reading other religious texts, or any literature that conflicts with Watchtower doctrine. So, while it's great that she's traveled and expanded her horizons in that way, can she really say she has grown as a person beyond what her insular worldview allows? And this is truly the bottom line. It helps you to grow as a person and serve Jehovah in ways you never thought was possible. And there you go. Cameron didn't set out to challenge her beliefs. She set out to confirm them. Her parents imposed an ideology on her at birth, then reinforced this worldview through a steady diet of indoctrination, social expectations, and a threat. If Cameron ever decides she doesn't have the best life ever and wants to leave the organization, her devout Jehovah's Witness parents will treat her as though she's dead. Which, again, all of this ties back to my original question of how can you say you've truly grown as a person, or better yet, how can you claim to have, the best life ever when you've been under the constant influence of your parents and an organization that keeps people inside through coercive control? And I'm not saying this sister isn't allowed to be happy, enjoy her experiences. She did everything I mentioned earlier. She studied different religions, she explored different belief systems, and then she came back around and decided she still wanted to be a witness. Cool. She can consent to that as an adult who is making an informed decision. And I'm not saying, oh, poor Cameron, she's got this horrible life, but I can tell you right now, it's not an authentic one because she's a product of her indoctrination. If you plucked the organization out of the equation, we don't know who Cameron is. Cameron might not even know who she is. And she deserves, like all Jehovah's Witnesses, to figure that out without the burden of conditional love keeping them in chains. As always, thank you for watching, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.